1.6, page 16, the Springboard book. We're going to do brainstorming and quick writes here. What contributions to our perceptions, what contributes to our perceptions of the world? Our perception being the way we look at things, right? Our filter. What makes that filter up? What's the stuff that's in there that we think through? So what I'm going to do here with this chart is you're going to be provided with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 images, and you are going to write what the image is, your first association. What are the first things you think of when you see that? Don't ask anybody at all. You write down what you think. And then you're going to talk with the people around you and write down what they have to say and add it in this box. So the first image we're going to go with is that. Next image. Next picture. Number 5. So what you should have at this point is the 5 images in there. American flag, the swoosh, the cross, the family, and Osama. First thing you thought of, and then what did other people have to say about it? So when you see the American flag, you may have thought a couple things. You may have thought of national pride, you may have thought of military, you may have thought of George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and all that stuff. You might have thought of 4th of July, you might have thought of the Pledge of Allegiance. Am I good so far?
Well, I thought 13 colonies.
13 colonies, 50 states, because of the specific symbols within the symbol. You could have thought of something more abstract like freedom, or voting, or voice being heard, or representation. You could have thought negatively. Some people think this way. I don't know. I don't know that you do, but thought of imperialist oppression and evil capitalism destroying the world, and environmental destruction, consumer greed. Some of that stuff fits, but could be what you think of. If you were a terrorist living in Saudi Arabia and you were about to put on your suicide bomb and go head out to Israel, and you saw an American flag, would you think the same way we would think? No. If you were living in a third world country and you lived in a shack and you didn't have much to eat, but you got a few bucks together and you're going to get on the bus and you saw an American flag, would you think of it the same way we think of it? Probably not, because we're here, we take those things for granted, but somebody who lives in a worse situation from us may have that as a symbol of better life, things to come. Okay, Nike swoosh, what did you think of? Athletics, what did you, shoe brand? Running, clothes. Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, guys like that. Did anybody think of evil capitalists oppressing third world children? Little Chinese kids making shoes for 12 cents an hour? They didn't have a job before Nike came there. I don't know what the problem is. The cross, a symbol of Christianity. You probably thought of Jesus and religion. Even if you're not Christian or not religious, you obviously would have some reaction living in this country to the cross. You're violating a classroom norm right now. Yes? No? That's a classroom norm? Sleeping? No. No. Yes. Yes. I am. So that's on there forever. Sorry. Anyway, I didn't use your name. so, what was the fifth one? The family?
Yeah. No, this one or the fourth one?
Fourth one was family. Was a family. You may have had different reactions to that depending on if your family looks like that family, if it's larger, if it's smaller, if it lacks a mom or lacks a dad, or you don't have any brothers, you don't have any sisters, or you're an only child, or you have 12 brothers and sisters. Could be different reactions to that based on that picture. That one will probably have a much different reaction from everybody in here than maybe the swoosh or the flag would have. And then the last one, most likely all of us have the same reaction to Osama bin Laden, as in, you know, an evil, heartless, vicious bastard who will likely burn in hell for all eternity for killing millions of innocent people throughout the world. I did. Because I said the B word. Alright. Here's what you're going to do now. You're going to do a quick write. How might cultural experiences shape, impact, and influence our perception of the world? I want to define a few terms first before we go any further. Perspective. What is another word for perspective? The way you view things, right? So think about the graphic organizer we used yesterday. What part of that graphic organizer would be our perspective? That graphic organizer with the arrows and the circles and the square in the middle, which part of that graphic organizer would be our perspective? The filter, right? So think about the filter and your perspective in the same way. In symbols, we looked at what symbols were. So what you're going to do is, how might cultural experiences shape, impact, or influence our perception of the world? And you have a 3-minute quick write. I would suggest writing small in that space because you could fill it up pretty fast if you write really big. So 3-minute quick write, responding to that question right there. How might cultural experiences shape, impact, or influence our perception of the world? So it's important to understand before we go too much further with all this cultural stuff, is that what do we keep talking about in terms of culture? Do we keep talking about the differences or the similarities here? What's been the focus of most of these lessons? The differences, right. And I want you to be careful in this class or in any other class or any conversation you have when you focus way too much on the differences. Now the intent is to focus on the differences so that I can understand how Marissa works or Harriet works or Marissa works or whoever I'm talking to. And if I can understand how I'm different from them, I may be able to appreciate them better. However, focusing on all of our differences all the time is likely going to lead to problems, right? How do we hang out together? How do you choose your friends? Personality? Character? Interests? Do you walk up and say, oh, you know, Elizabeth, I bet she's really different from me. I'm going to be her friend. No. Elizabeth, you probably hang out with people that are a lot the same as you are, right? Okay, and everyone could probably say the same things. So you could see where focusing so much on differences can separate us. Do you see how that can be a problem sometimes? So you need to make sure you're understanding that we're different, and that's a good thing, but there's also tons of ways that we're the same, and that's what connects us to each other. So be careful with that. The last part of this section, this 1.6 that you need to do, is you need to list 5 artifacts that serve as symbols for you, your life, and your culture that you can include in a perception box if we were going to do a PowerPoint of you, like we just did of the symbols that I gave you, the swoosh, the cross, and all that stuff. What do these objects reveal about you and your culture? So you should have right here 5 artifacts listed and then a short description off to the right.